Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Caroline Slater.
And I'm her brother Sean.
And today we are discussing Minute 44. It begins with Miles and Peter B. Parker talking about the goober, and ends a minute later with Miles pouting on the wall.
What did you title this minute?
I creatively titled this minute, The Goober.
It is, and it's both talking about the device and Miles. Speaking of Miles being a goober, I love how he, when Peter's like, give it to me, he's like, no, and he just sticks it in his mouth.
I'll swallow it.
Swallow it. Yeah.
Before that, I do want to bring up, because I just think it's very funny, so in the previous minute, Peter B is like, oh, an override key. or, oh, a goober. And Miles in this minute's like, he called it an override key. It's like, there's always a bypass key, a virus key, who cares, I can never remember key.
Yeah.
So I always called it a goober. I'm like, that's hilarious and smart.
Yeah, it also just kind of ties in what we were talking about to Peter, just having done this for a really long time and just not really caring about a lot of the little minutiae stuff and just being like, okay, it's the key, the thing that'll save the day. Got it.
I also, I think it's kind of funny that he calls it a goober, because it almost feels like you're a goober for creating this type of key that allows me to stop your machine.
Yeah. And then
Miles tries to swallow it.
Yeah, when Miles threatens to swallow it, I love how Peter just is like it almost feels like he's dealt with this before, and that he just shoots a web at it and just easily yanks it into his hand.
So clever. I also he's talking about how he's gonna go fix it, and then he looks at the goober and he's like, "Did you break it?" And I love Miles says, "No, it broke." Just this long pause.
I don't remember how it came that way. Wasn't me. Nope.
Broke. But it's such a teenage thing for him to do as well. It's so good. And Peter has a very adult reaction of frustration and just starts grumbling about see, this is why I don't want to have kids. It's a very I feel that.
I also made a note of you can tell that this is just more grumpy old man walking.
Didn't we figure out that he's in his 30s?
Yeah, he's probably mid-30s.
Yeah, it's so funny that he's in this grumpy old man stage already.
I mean, I would be too if there was this kid holding me up from trying to, get back to my home. Fair
enough.
Yeah, I loved his little mumblings to himself in these minutes.
It's a great little touch to Peter that just brings such an amazing character and continues his theme of being a jerk.
Yeah, and also just I love the way they're juxtaposing the way he's navigating the walls here, and kind of like I said, how last minute Miles still doesn't have a grasp of how to use the space as a spider person, whereas Peter clearly has that, and he's just jumping onto the car, walking up the other side of the wall, and then once he realizes it's broken, how he just tosses it behind him. He's like, well, okay, this is useless to me now, and just gonna litter. But then the really cool thing too is just Miles jumps to the jumps over to grabs it and just clears the alley. And I think he even lands a bit higher than where he was on the other wall, which is a 10 to 15 foot jump plus a little bit of verticality to it.
Yeah,
it's one of those other subtle ways of just showing what their powers can do. Miles can easily even though he still doesn't have the sticking bit down, he's easily able to just clear the this 10-15 foot gap.
I do want to point out, he is starting to stick in this minute. In the previous minute, he was easily sliding down the wall, but he's starting to stick.
Yeah, once he clears, or once he jumps to the other side of the alley, he's sticking a bit better, starting to figure it out more. And The another cool thing is in this one they removed one of Miles's shoes.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, when did he lose his shoe?
He lost it when Peter knocked him back, but the reason they did that was to explain like why he's able to stick to the wall with his feet, and it's because like he can stick I guess through his sock, and stick that way, whereas so in reality he's only sticking with like his right foot and left hand at one point, like when he's sitting on the wall with the goober, but like and his left foot isn't really doing anything, except maybe helping push back against it a little bit, but it's not sticking to the wall, which could be part of the reason that he's having so much difficulty against the wall. But it's just a funny thing that that was something they thought of, was like, oh, obviously people are going to complain about like how does Miles stick to the wall when he's got both his shoes on, and he doesn't know / have time to like cut the soles out yet.
Yeah.
And it's just a funny a neat little thing that they brought up, like that was something they had thought about.
That is a very clever thought, because I just thought they did it as like for consistency's sake, or as like a little joke if Miles keeps losing his shoe.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was like an actual purpose, so that's really cool. Can we skip ahead a little bit and talk about the man in the window?
Yeah.
This poor man. I must be so confused.
Yeah, like I would be really concerned if I don't know if I'd be concerned if I saw, like, living in New York City at this time, if I suddenly saw two people just like walking up the wall.
It looks like a quieter neighborhood, so if I living in a quieter neighborhood, if I saw two people walking the wall, I'd be like, what?
But this is also like a neighborhood where powered people clearly exist, and so it could just be like something a bit more normal, maybe a little odd that they're wearing the spider costume, but it is soon after the funeral, so
maybe it's the fact that they're wearing the spider costume and walking up the wall.
Yeah.
I feel bad. He spills some of his drink when Miles walks by.
Yeah.
Which I never noticed before, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he's definitely like up nice and early too.
Oh yeah.
You can see some of
he's
the
like
morning
dressed
light
in
coming
everything.
through.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's like it's not nighttime. Like it's not dusk. The sun isn't going down. It's coming up.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just giving credit to that man for like being up early. Like he's dressed in everything.
And he probably starts work at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. maybe, depending on time of year. And that person, that is a Peter Ramsey cameo, who is one of the directors of the movies, or not of the movie.
I really want to bring up this moment. I cannot pinpoint why exactly, but Miles is talking about, like, he takes a more serious tone, and he really tries to, like, persuade Peter into, like, listen, you need to help me, like, I'm gonna lose my parents, my uncle, millions of people are gonna die. The line I love is, you good with that, Spider-Man? And the reason why I love it is the animation done on Miles's face. I cannot explain why I love that moment so much, but there's something about the way they animated his face that I just kept going back and re-watching just that line, because I loved it so much.
Yeah, it's got a very like, the facial expression is that sort of like confused anger, and it does really get that across really well. I agree with you there.
I just think it's so good, and I never noticed this before, but I really want to talk about it. Right after that line happens, Peter's eyes glance down. He doesn't glance back. It's almost like he's like glancing back without turning his head. He like glances down right before he says yeah.
Yeah.
You can almost tell that like Peter isn't okay with it, but he's trying to act like he is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the first little crack in his armor.
It's such a genius moment, and it's so subtle and so small that I had never seen it before until now. And even then, I wasn't sure at first. Like, I had to watch it 3 more times just to make sure. I'm like, I'm not crazy. Like, his eyes are moving. And they were. And that was me gushing for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. Like, I like the Miles dipping into his, like, okay, he tried to just do the, like, oh, we're gonna do this together, and like once he sees that, like, that's not really getting him anywhere, he dips into this, like, no, like, we really have to do this, like,
Mhm.
or else, you know, bad things are gonna happen, and I you know, feel like I have to be there to do that because this is my, you know, my city.
Mm-hmm. I think what I love about this moment so much is that really this is like the first big hint of like Miles as Spider-Man in a way.
Yeah.
When Peter is in the Collider room, like the first time, and Miles is there and watching, and they're about to do the demonstration, Peter starts out like, "No, stop! You're going to." I forget what it is, but it's like you're going to kill everybody. Like it's a very similar tactic, almost.
Yeah.
And so it's I just connected that in my head of like this is really Miles kind of taking a more Spider-Man approach.
And they do a good job of, like, trying to make, you know, this Peter seem kind of jerkish, slash not used to dealing with other people. Like, he's, you know, working alone probably for most of his career.
Yeah, it almost seems like they implied that he's really worked alone almost his entire career.
And he's got this wallet, but so he feels like, you know, he's coming across as a jerk, but deep down, like, you know, that little glance down, and then when he glances back over the wall, like that, it's just a way to show that, like, yeah, deep down he's still good.
Mm-hmm. He still cares. He still does care.
Yeah.
Though he might be a little jaded.
Yeah. But that was everything I had for this minute. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, that is all I have for this minute as well.
Well, thank you for joining us this Wednesday, and join us on Friday for minute 45 to see the conclusion of their discussion.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.